Bryan Dressel. With me, as always, is Jonathan Hardesty.
Long drawn out sigh.
Chewie Darsow.
Hi.
And Emily Blake.
Hey.
This week, we have special guest, Natalie Lopez.
Yay!
Not Nathalie, as I just found out.
The H is silent.
The H is silent, as I embarrassingly found out. Although I did not call you Nathalie.
I told you that.
No, you did not.
I thought I did.
I've been saying Nathalie to you for the whole week, and you're like, yeah, okay. Never once corrected me.
You can always call me Nathalie.
Oh, I like that. Nathalie Lopez. Yeah, that's good. That's good. We'll keep that.
Let's redo the intro.
Yeah. No, my intros are perfect every time. Thank you very much.
Long drawn out sigh.
So today's episode, we'll be talking about Coco, the amazing animated film from 2017. But before we get to that, we should do a Where Have You Been Doing? I'll go first. I'm torn between two. Since we're recording 2 episodes today, I'll just do them both. I'll start with I've been replaying Persona 5. I've talked about it at length on this podcast before, so I won't do that again. But I will say it's still good the second time through, and it is a 100-hour-plus game. So for you to be able to want to sit down and play that thing twice, it must be pretty damn great.
Are you doing all different choices?
There's not really that many choices to make. It's not like a choice sort of game. It's just
Right.
if you're on your second time through, you don't have to redo a lot of stats because the stats carry over, so you can just meet more people. And that's,
Okay.
That's what I mean.
I guess that's what I meant. More like
Yeah.
meeting different people than you might have met the first time through.
Yeah.
You were telling me there were some things that get closed off to you if you choose other things.
It's kind of. But on the second time through, it's all open. It's a lot easier because you don't have to worry about leveling up certain things.
Oh, cool.
So you just get to see more of the world and more of the game. So the replay is 100% worthwhile, and it's very, 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 very good. Probably the best game so far on the PS4, and I know that's a bold claim, but I'm sticking to it.
Nice, nice. So we'll see you 150 hours later?
I'm almost done. So.
Oh, okay.
So, no. The second time through, it's taking me like 60 hours. So, John, what about you?
For me? Oh, me. I continued. I watched the very first episode of Supergirl like months ago. I think back when they only had maybe one season. No, that's years ago then. When they only had one season on Netflix.
Okay.
And so I was like, I don't feel like watching this. I don't feel like watching that. And my usual thing of just like, if you can't decide, watch Supernatural. That wasn't working anymore.
Shocker.
Yeah, after about 6 or so seasons, I'm like, I got it. I'm good. There's only so many times Satan can come back before you're like, whoa, jeez. Just get him already, damn it. But I watched like the next 3 episodes. And I'm still really enjoying the show. Just everyone's got so much charisma and they all look so pretty. And it's just cheerful and upbeat. And I'm going to stick with it, I think.
You should. Yeah. It's good.
I'm really enjoying it. The last episode I watched was featured some guy with like, what was his name? Radiotron.
He doesn't come back.
Okay.
No idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, he had like a bunch of like zap powers and like an armored suit, and then like Superman came and saved her a little bit or something, and all that. But
okay, yeah, I'd recommend keep going with it. It's
sure.
Should I go next or?
Yeah, why don't you go next? Awesome. Hey guys, this is Brian really quick. We had a guest who was a little late, and I actually was afraid he wasn't going to make it, and then he showed up. So we had to stop down and then start recording. So for some reason, the audio totally changed from when we stopped and started, but it's all worth it, and yeah, just keep listening. Bye.
My Where Have I Been Doing? Was
Flawless,
watching
honey.
Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime.
Woo!
I like John Krasinski, which was my main pull into that, essentially. And Jack Ryan's fun because he's just kind of a Boy Scout, American patriotic trope that's on usually film, and now he's on television. I love Hunt for Red October, which is my main thing, but I really enjoyed it. It's not deep by any means. It's not like Homeland or whatnot, where it like pushed boundaries. It's pretty on the nose, straightforward. Jack Ryan's the all-American white patriot. He's just an analyst, guys, but he's good at everything, like great at everything. And it's just dumb fun, honestly. If you want more subtext for your global politics, Jack Ryan's not really going to do it for you. It's pretty straightforward.
Perfect.
And I liked that it had a good female director for almost half, Patricia Regan. I'm not really sure which way it's supposed to go. But she's from Mexico, and she's a woman, and she's fantastic at directing action, and she's been advocating a lot right now for more women to get into the action genre, and I fully support that. So those are the reasons to watch Jack Ryan.
Cool.
All right, so I actually just watched Gone with the Wind for the very first time.
Oh, goodness.
Oh wow.
Oh my God.
Did you like it?
To me, to be honest with you, is the most perfect film I have ever seen in my life.
Even the cardboard bodies that flap in the wind?
But they're so majestic.
It's so majestic. Yes. Like like just the production design alone, it's incredible. And I found out that was the main reason why they did a category for best production design for the Oscars, because of that film. And I love the story, even though it's long. It's like 4 hours long, but it keeps you entertained for 4 hours, and that's hard to do, especially in screenwriting. So I watched the whole thing. I just loved it. I think it's a very well done film, and it's still relevant nowadays, and I think it will always be relevant.
It has one of the best lines in cinema ever, with the "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn."
Yeah.
You just have to wait 4 hours to get to it.
Yeah, you know. But it's so great.
Just don't sit down waiting for that line. You'll be waiting a while. Emily, what about you?
Remember that episode we did about Murder on the Orient Express where I hadn't watched the movie?
Have you seen it now?
I saw it. I saw most of it.
You need to take your TARDIS back to that episode. Then.
The classic or the new one?
The new one.
Oh.
I watched most of it. I liked Kenneth Branagh. I liked the effective use of like a very limited amount of sets. I liked when Johnny Depp was murdered, and I was annoyed the entire time he was on my screen. But I actually fell asleep during the big reveal moment where we found out who actually did it, and I woke up seeing Michelle Pfeiffer crying. Happened, so I was like, it's okay, and I didn't go back and rewatch it, but I enjoyed the performances that I saw. I still have not seen the completed Murder on the Orient Express, but I saw most
Got
of
close.
it. Yeah.
Next time you try, you're gonna fall asleep at that exact same
Probably.
spot, or
I
a
feel like
minute
that's-
after. Like you're just gonna miss. You're never gonna see 100%.
Hopefully, she'll just fall asleep in the very beginning and wake up just for that little stretch.
Or I could just fast forward to that scene and just watch it.
That'd be too easy.
No, that movie is too easy to
You
be
can't
honest
fast forward
with you.
on DVDs.
I mean, you can.
Like the story of Orient Express, it was just too easy. I knew already who done it by like halfway.
Yeah.
It was
I knew
too
too
obvious.
because I had been sitting here during our podcast where the ending was revealed.
Oh,
We talked at great length about it.
We did, and I had no idea what we were talking about, but I learned some things from that podcast
Yeah.
that I applied to my viewing of the movie where I missed the ending.
Namely, watch your movie.
Louise, what about you?
Well, we do. We should intro.
Yeah,
not
what's
just-
the-
we
what's
wrote it.
the-
Suddenly, a man has appeared.
Yeah, we had somebody
I mean,
sneak
that's
in
kind of
after we
fun.
started recording. Luis and I've already forgotten how to pronounce your name, and I don't want to butcher it again.
It's okay, man. Bordonada?
Bordonada?
Yeah.
Okay.
I highly recommend. There's two things. I'm trying to choose which one to tell you about. I'm gonna go with the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Have you guys?
Okay.
I've heard
haven't
great
watched it
things
yet.
about it. I haven't watched it though.
It's I come from the theater,
Mhm.
and so like it was, to me, it's one of the most precise, rehearsed, tight, like performances, shows, delivery that I've seen on TV in a very long time, because it's extensive dialogue, and every actor on it is like, it's like a symphony. It's like every one of the actors is a separate instrument, and they're just perfectly synced. It's quite a beauty to watch, and it's a comedy, but it's one of those like surreal comedies where you're like, this is bullshit. There's no way this has ever happened, right? It takes place in I think it's 50s or 40s New York, right? There's very few like colored people on the thing, but it's just so entertaining to watch people be so precise with their craft, And it goes for everybody: production design, the costume design, the camera movement, the photography, everything. It just seems like it's just a perfect show. You guys should watch it. I think it's like,
sounds like
so I binged the whole. And what's her name? Rachel Brosnahan is amazing. I didn't know she was this force, So I started watching it just like the first episode, and then suddenly I'm like on the 8th episode.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
oh, this is great.
Nice.
Because they're 1-hour episodes. It's fun to watch.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
I think we should get started on Coco.
Coco.
Co. So I was gonna do the numbers and stuff for this one, but it's kind of pointless. It's a Pixar movie. It did very, very well.
What?
I mean, it wasn't a
Surprise.
flop. I think.
I mean, I think the only poorly performed Pixar movie of even remote recency would be Good Dinosaur.
Yeah.
That'd be it,
I
right?
forgot
What
that
is
was
that?
a movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what everyone's
That's
forgot
how
that would
bad
even
it
happen.
is.
I saw it in theaters and I enjoyed it. I think I'm the only one.
I fell asleep during it twice.
Is it the Good Dinosaur about the? Well, technically, the movie is about grieving.
Yeah.
It's about death too.
Yeah.
But it's. I think it's too harsh for a child
It's
to
very
watch
harsh for a
that.
kid.
It's too much.
I never heard of it.
And it's surprisingly violent, but it's a
Very.
good movie. I liked it. I still think I'm the only one. I tried to show it to my nieces. They did not enjoy it at
It's just-
all.
I think the content is not child friendly. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, but,
Even though it's
well,
animated,
I
it's
could do a
not.
whole episode on that one, but I don't want to make anybody else watch it, especially because I've tried to make Chewie watch it twice and she fell asleep both times.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
It's just, it's not that engaging.
Wait,
is,
what is
though.
Coco?
Good Dinosaur.
Good dinosaur.
Oh, I know, sorry.
No, I fell asleep during
no.
Coco twice.
But before we get too far into Coco, we should do a 30-second breakdown, courtesy of Luis this time. You excited
Really?
for this? Oh, yeah.
Ah, shit.
What's it good? You look good on camera. You know,
Oh, thanks.
he's an actor.
Yeah, so you can do this, right?
Yeah.
It was in the email I sent you. You prepared, correct?
Right.
Sure, totally.
Yeah, definitely.
This is gonna go great.
Oh man, this is great.
All right, here we go. So the movie Coco in 30 seconds. We think, we hope, we pray. Here we go, go, go.
Okay, Coco is about a little kid who wants to find out more about life. He wants to be a musician, and his parents don't let him. They don't, and so he ends up traveling to this old musician's tomb, and somehow traveling into another dimension of his ancestors, and meets his old ancestors in that universe, and ends up somehow through adventure convincing them to give him his blessing to become a musician.
Yeah, I think that does it. Yeah, I think that's everything.
Pretty
Yeah.
good. Not bad for spontaneous.
I mean, yeah.
Nobody
I was
ever
like, I'm
gets
leaving
it.
so much out right now.
That was fast.
Like nobody ever gets it without planning ahead. So the
Yeah.
fact that you did extemporaneously is pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Which
Good job.
we've had some people say is like a comment on the quality of the movie. I don't think that applies in
don't
this
think
case.
I think this, to be honest, I think this movie should have been nominated. I mean, it did get nominated for Best Animated Feature, but I
it
think
won, didn't it?
to me
Best
it was
Animated?
yeah, it won Best Animated.
Yeah.
But I think given the slate of the nominations, that it was the Best Picture. Or Mudbound, like that, or Mudbound was.
Sure.
Best Picture.
There's an argument to be made that since they've included Best Animated
On its
Feature,
own thing.
that
yeah.
they'll never
Yeah.
nominate an animated
Yeah.
film ever
That's a
again.
bummer.
Yeah.
Which is a total shame.
That's
'cause-
just the
Yeah,
Oscars.
it
The
doesn't make
Oscars
sense,
is
though.
really picky. They just want dramas in the Best Picture of the Year.
And that's what this
Yeah.
new like popular category is
Well-
now going to remove movies that
Well,
like are
Yeah.
huge
that's
successes.
why they got rid of it.
Yeah.
Oh, they did?
They
Yeah, they
received
just got
nothing
rid
but
of it.
negative.
Disney kind of made them get rid of it.
Yeah, oh, that makes sense.
Disney and everyone from Black Panther are like, get the fuck out
Yeah,
of here.
don't give us the second prize
Yeah.
bullshit. Yeah.
But honestly, I think we'll get more into the movie here in a moment. But there's I just kind of want to get this done out of the way. I haven't been very impressed with Pixar for a while now. I would say their last great outing was Up. I know a lot of people enjoyed Inside Out. I thought it was fine. I didn't love it. I thought it was okay.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, there's
It's emotions learning new emotions.
which is clever, and they do clever, and it's
I was
very.
just like,
It's just a lot of like it's fine. But this was the first time in a long time, and I still don't think it feels like old school Pixar, which is fine. But this is the first Pixar movie that they've had, and I don't even know how long, that I thought was not just good, but one of the best movies of the year.
But you know what? If I may add, the main reason why this movie works is because Pixar, Disney, whoever, were behind this film, they actually took their time to do the research. I was very afraid that it was going to end up like The Book of Life. The Book of Life with, it's interesting because that's a Guillermo del Toro film. And it
Well,
was
it's produced. I don't
But
think
he
it was
didn't- he didn't
produced.
direct
He
it.
didn't direct it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it was not what it was actually just kind of like the American way of representing, like what they believe is, like Day of the Dead.
Sure.
And then when I watched Coco, that's one thing that I noticed right away. It is so true to its roots. So they had to actually go to Mexico, do their research, talk to people, and I love that, like it was teamwork, with like this, Disney in Mexico and in America, and they actually got it right. they got it right because they work together, and that's why it shows in the film.
I was gonna.
No, go ahead.
That's like one of the, not only like personally connected to the film, but as an audience member as well. Like, I got to read an early draft of some of the script, because I read for one of the the Gael Garcia character, which he did amazing.
Let's get Garcia.
Yeah.
He's known to be pretty good.
Huh?
He's known to be pretty good.
Yeah, I love it. I'm such a fan. But I was nervous as a Mexican American, not as a Mexican, like a person of Mexican descent, to see that, and see what they were trying to tackle, because it's such a intimate piece of our culture. And then when I read the script, or the piece that I saw, was like, oh man, this is actually, it's actually really good. Like, it makes sense if they're doing it this way, And then 2 years later, the thing came out, and then I saw. I had heard from a lot of like the Latino community that had seen pre-screenings or things like that they were really impressed by it. So when I went and saw it the first time, because I saw it like 4 times, I was blown away by it, because I was and I waited. It was like 2 weeks out, and then I sat in the back of the theater just with my whole family, like my nieces, my nephews. And they were like, "Tío, I don't," because they're like American. They're like American kids now. They don't.
Sure.
They don't even want to speak Spanish. Oh my God, tío. I guess. All right, we'll go watch it with you. And then we're sitting there, and I could see them. I could watch them learn about their culture through this Disney animation, Disney film, this Pixar film. And I thought, my God, I mean, I'm a fan of Disney, right? Obviously, like I have this fucking Disney hat. And I worked for them, but I thought, I never expected them to be so responsible in accurately portraying a part of my history, and to see my nieces and nephews learn, I was blown away by that, and I was very grateful for that,
And it's one of those things where, like, coming from my perspective of, like, I was born and raised like Irish Catholic, I know nothing about the Day of the Dead. I don't know about the celebration. I know nothing. So I'm watching it going, I've heard from my friends from Mexico and other things that they did a very good job, but like there's no way for me to know. So I just kind of have to assume that this is right. And then I hear from people like you, it's like, oh no, they nailed it. Like, that's really good to hear.
Or even
people confuse it with. I'm sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I was gonna say, even to her point about the Book of Life, how we would have no idea. So we're watching this from one perspective that like these look kind of similar. So we're not seeing that nuance in an interesting way. So it's very interesting to see you guys both talk about it.
To be honest, I was very afraid. I didn't want to go see it. It took me at least 3 weeks to actually take the time to go see it, because I was so upset at the Book of Life, because I'm like, you know what? Like, I get it. They're, I get that, they're trying to make money and everything, but, like, it would be nice if people are actually educated about, that, sort of thing, like culture and all that stuff, And they nailed it. They nailed it. I was so impressed. I think they went above and beyond in, like, it was beautiful. And I've seen it in Spanish and I've seen it in English as well. And they're both amazing. Like, like, it was great. It was translated properly.
Not to interrupt. Do you know if any of the cast carried over between the Spanish and the American? Because like obviously Gael Garcia could do the entire part in either language.
No, I think most of the actors were Hispanic.
Yeah. I looked at the cast. I think only beyond Ransberger, I think almost everyone was Hispanic.
Yes, absolutely.
But I didn't know if they all like that. Just because they're Hispanic doesn't mean they obviously speak Spanish.
And by the way, they not only nailed the Day of the Dead, but they also nailed the way like we are raised with our families.
Sure.
They, like the way we treat our grandparents, and all the respect. It's just they really they did their homework. Let's put it that way,
And going back to Lisa's point about the inspiration, I was talking to my friend Dominic about this movie, and he's half Mexican, but was raised essentially as this American white kid. He doesn't really know much about his culture and doesn't really celebrate any of the the holidays. And but his wife, I believe, is Mexican or Mexican American, and they have a little kid. And so he was talking about after watching this movie, they were like, well, we realize like we want to make sure our daughter is familiar with our heritage. So they've decided to start putting up, start celebrating the holiday just a little bit and putting up an altar and like.
That's
because
beautiful.
they watched.
That's
movie.
really cool.
Yeah.
But let's dive into the movie a little bit. So I want to start just right out of the gate with I just watched this movie for the first time last night. The main character's name, kid. Miguel. I knew there was a G in there. I thought it started with. I'm like, that's wrong. But I just want to start with Miguel because I think Miguel is like for a point character. I think he's perfect. Like, it's rare that I usually kind of like am squishy on main characters in movies because I feel like a lot of times they try to make them too bland nowadays so that everyone can feel that they're the main character.
Well, that's what the trailer was kind of promising for this. Like,
yeah,
the trailer was like, get ready for a bland character.
Well,
yeah,
as a lot of trailers tend to do.
Yeah,
but
and I get it. It's fine. I understand what people are doing there. It makes sense. The less characterization you put in your main character, the more people can relate to your main character. And I don't think they did that at all with Miguel. I think Miguel had very set like personality traits and they carried throughout the entire film, so he was able to grow as a character and still be his own very well-defined person, and I thought that was really 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 well done.
They gave him a very universal what freaking word am I looking for? Drama, not the drama, but starts with a C. Motivation, essentially, of you're a kid, you want to do one thing and your parents are saying no.
Sure.
Just the idea of tradition in any family of this is the family business is a very universal thing because there's so many movies about kids that are like raised in this situation where like your dad did this, your grandpa did this, but in this it's your grandma, your great grandma, your great great grandma. Yeah. Like we're making shoes and we don't like music, so he's the opposite. He doesn't want to make shoes. He wants to be a musician. It's a very universal trope.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that, you have your generic entry point of angst, essentially.
But it didn't. Sure, it's a generic entry point because we can all relate to like I don't want to be what my parents want me to be. But like beyond his motivation, I think the characterization of him didn't feel generic at all.
It's so much better because like when you were talking about how you don't get excited by Pixar anymore, the movie where I lost my enthrallment with Pixar was Brave.
Yeah.
Of like, you're going to get married. No, I'm not. We're going to turn your mom into a bear. And it's just like, I was not impressed with Brave because I'm not going to go down that route, but the motivation for the angst and how they dealt with it to me was just so much better in this movie.
Yeah,
it's very tight. Everything that happened was connected to the theme. It was all like everything was part of telling that same. It didn't seem like there was random stuff over here. Everything was about that, either music or death.
Very specific goal of trying to kind of rise above your family, but then coming right back down to them and realizing that family blessing is incredibly important, and it's not just for you to learn, but it's for them to learn, and you all to kind of like evolve together and still grow together and be a even more tight-knit family.
To be honest with you, this character also reminded me of Moana.
Yeah.
Because Moana, same thing, like
in Moana, she saved her family.
And she's trying to have, like respect for her family, but, it's that inner calling that is just calling you, and you just can't avoid that, and you just got to pursue it. Even sometimes if you go against your own family, like you're kind of stuck in between your family and that, that goal that you have, and it sucks because, you can't choose either or.
Well, and even that revelation that like music played such a big part of their past and was a part of their heritage too, that to deny that, even though for reasons that make sense, was detrimental, which Moana also did.
Oh, yeah,
and I thought that was
true.
an interesting kind of comparison when you brought that up. I was like, oh, yeah, they were like the matriarch. She was a musician. She sang, and everything was better when they got back to that and kind of had that synthesis. And I thought that was really interesting.
You have to learn to let go of the past in a way, and forgiveness, and don't crush something that gave you joy just because one thing happened.
I actually do believe that, that's what the entire film is about. It's actually about forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yes, it's about reaching your goals and everything, but the actual deep point of the entire film is forgiveness. Same thing in Moana, like they used to be sailors and then they kind of just avoid it. And it's like, you know what? Sometimes you cannot avoid who you're meant to be,
Yeah.
So, it's interesting because I just thought about this, by the way, with the correlation with Moana as well.
I also think Moana and Coco are good examples of why it's so important to have to raise up diverse voices in filmmaking, because the other day I was watching The Emperor's New Groove, which I've always loved. That movie takes place in South America. All the actors are white. And now when at the time when that movie came out, you didn't really think about it, or at least as a white person, I didn't think about it. As an adult, now surrounded by like the constant reminder, because we're really talking about this now, it's like, oh, wow. Like that's a bunch of white people telling a story that is not about white people. And now we have Moana, which feels authentic, and Coco, which feels authentic, because their stories told by the people who grew up in these cultures, and the voices that we hear are people who are from this culture. So it's more real, and it's where we should be going.
Yeah, and I think it'd be one thing if it felt like the cast was like stunt casting, like, because I feel like there's some movies that could like teeter on like the, oh no, like we're just trying to do this to appease people. They chose the best people for the part, across the board.
They found a nobody to play Miguel.
Yeah, and he's so good. And I didn't look at it again because I watched last night. I assume he did his own singing, right? I probably should have looked that up.
It sounded like him while he was singing.
He did too as well. He was I'm gonna take the freedom to tell the story. Hopefully, it's true.
But I just want to say Anthony Gonzalez.
Yeah. He has this movie coming out called Icebox, and I'm in it. Like so that's how I met him. And he was saying let me rephrase this. He wasn't slated to be that, right? It was on like the last strand. They had auditioned a lot of people, and then like he came in, and as he was about to leave the room, it was like, would you guys mind if I just sing a song for you? Sure. And then he sang this song, and before he got through half of the song, they looked at each other and were like, this is it. This kid is it. And he swooned them. He swooned them. When we were filming Icebox, he sang. I obviously Icebox we shot way before. Like in between the press run for Coco, right? So it wasn't out yet. Nobody knew that he was going to sing that much. But we were doing karaoke at the rap party, and and then he takes the microphone and in this little karaoke bar just blew everybody away. Like blew it because he's
Did he
actually
sing Remember Me?
No, it's that would have been hilarious. No, he sang this like very difficult Mexican song by this famous Mexican singer, Vicente Fernandez, who's like legendary, right? He's one of the greatest voices ever because his voice is very operatic.
Sure.
Vicente Fernandez, if you guys, you should hear his voice.
Oh yeah, his voice is amazing. And
amazing.
This guy never had any coaching or anything.
No.
He's a natural. And his son too is also, Alejandro Fernandez is also an amazing musician. Natural voices and everything.
But to sing like one of their song in karaoke, it's like you trying to do. It's like anybody who's trying to do like a song by, I don't know.
Freddie Mercury.
Whenever
someone tries to do
like
Bohemian
a very
Rhapsody,
difficult,
I'm like, you're gonna fail.
One of those voices that is like, there's no way. And this kid, man, I think this was last year, because the movie's premiering in Toronto this next month. So it was last year, then the movie came out. So it was last year. It was only been a year.
Filmmaking is weird, folks.
Yeah, it's just weird. I'm thrown off right now.
You throw in animated, which takes like a
Exactly. But he blew. I mean, I think it was amazing to see it happen at a karaoke bar because the microphone sucked. The sound sucks, right? The quality sucks. And then everybody's drunk.
Yeah.
And,
the kid was
and
drunk.
Yet everybody was crazy, except him. And then, but even though everybody was drunk, having fun or whatever, everybody was just quiet and just listened. And I thought, man, this kid is something else. And so then when you saw the movie, I was like, of course, this kid's brilliant,
This is why I love it when they cast nobodies, which they're doing more in animated movies right now. I hope they start going back to that with the live action musicals, because I've been frustrated with the faces over the voice casting in like La La Land and Beauty and the Beast. Like, I don't care how famous you are.
You can't coach
Please
a voice
sing
out
better.
of you.
When they do the live stuff on TV, those live musicals, they get like real fucking talent. People who won Tony Awards
because they can't do auto tune on that.
Yeah.
Put those people in the movie.
It's just more.
Or just go back to Les Mis, get the girl who played. Now I'm forgetting her name. The girl who sings "On My Own." She was so fucking good.
Oh my
just
God.
get her in everything.
They're
Only good
remaking
thing in that
it.
movie.
BBC is remaking it.
But one
Are they?
thing, I had no idea Benjamin Bratt could be such a good singer. Did he do his own singing? I hope so.
I like I said, since I watched
He
this
did
last night, I didn't do as
Ernesto
much.
de la Cruz.
yeah.
I like Benjamin Bratt, and I don't
I
think
love that guy, man.
he's really.
You ever
he's-
see Bound by Honor? I'm sorry,
no,
I just
I
had to
didn't.
throw that in there. So, like, if you're Mexican or Mexican American at 9 or 10 years old, you get to shoot a movie, right?
Yeah.
It's, it's called Blood In, Blood Out, Bound by Honor, man. You gotta watch it. It's like, it's when it's the first time. One of the first times where I was a kid, I saw, holy shit, people like that are my color of skin could be leads on movies. I could do this. And there was Benjamin Bratt. I mean, you gotta see it.
Benjamin Bratt, he's so freaking talented. If he plays the best, like, everyman, nice guy, and total horrifying villain.
He's got charisma.
Yeah.
He's out the
Wuzza.
yeah, was out.
At the yin yang.
He turns up in interesting places too.
He does,
like in
yeah.
Doctor Strange, you're like, oh, what a okay.
Hi, Benjamin Bratt.
He's in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, why did the camera leave him all of a sudden?
It's like, you're only like 5 minutes of this movie. Like, you had Benjamin Bratt, right?
He could have been Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
He should have been Doctor
He
Strange.
could have. That would have been an interesting choice, but I would have watched the hell out of it.
I can see him with a goatee like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like that was so I watched the first half of this movie with my phone completely dead and charging in the other room, and then when I finally had enough battery, I'm like, I need to know who these voices are, because I was able to pick out Gael Garcia just because I've loved him since I don't remember the first.
You see
time I
Bad
saw him.
Education?
I saw Y Tu Mamá
Amores
Sabía. I
Perros?
think it was probably that one.
First
Amores
time I noticed him
Perros.
was Science of Sleep.
Amores Perros was
Okay,
like-
first time I saw him was in a Spanish soap opera called El Abuelo y Yo.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I think that was his first novela.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
So I was so happy to see him, actually, take over Hollywood, he's a great guy.
He's so fucking talented. Is this another one? Like, I hear his voice, and that one I could pick out, and then nobody else. I'm like, I have no idea who the rest of these people are. Like, I'm assuming Ratzberger will show up at some point. Am I saying that right?
Ratzenberger, I think.
Yeah. Like, I figure he's the Pixar voice. He'll be here at some point. But everybody else, I'm like, I have no idea. So it was really cool kind of going through and going, oh, I do know a lot of these voices, and they're all just like doing such a good job playing their characters that their voice is just getting lost in their character, which I love it when animated movies can do that, because I feel a lot of times people get cast for their voice, and it's like, oh,
And that
look.
becomes a distraction point.
Yeah,
too. You're
it's-
like, oh, you got John Cena voicing a bull.
Yeah,
right?
it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
here's
yeah. Oh, that's John Cena.
Angelina Jolie tiger. It's
Right.
like, yeah, okay, we get it. Like, I understand you want celebrities behind your voices, but I like it better when you cast for the part than for the person who's playing the part. And I
It
think
is really
Yeah.
distracting when the whole time you're
Yeah.
just thinking about the person doing the voice.
it's like even like How to Train Your Dragon. Like, I think is it Jay Baruchel is great for Hiccup, but it's still that's his voice.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, okay, well, now I'm just
Okay.
imagining Jay Baruchel as a Viking riding dragons.
My favorite stunt casting is Alan Tudyk as Hey Hey. I mean,
Yeah.
that's.
Oh my God. Hey, look.
We're gonna put a white dude in this movie. We're gonna
I
make
went
him
to Juilliard for this.
One thing, I don't recognize any of the women. I don't know if you guys know. Alana Ubach did Mama Imelda, and then Renee Victor for Abuelita.
Abuelita, grandmother.
And
My favorite is the lady
Natalie
that did-
Cordova Buckley for Frida.
She was amazing.
Yeah,
that
I
was
don't
Natalie
recognize
is
any of
so
these
cool.
women. Have you guys?
She's in she's on a show that I'm on right now, and she's like, as an actress, can I cuss?
Natalie
yes, go
Cordova.
for it.
I cuss a lot.
Yeah.
She's fucking
That is so
brilliant.
funny
We
because that
encourage-
was my name, by the way, back in the day. That's my name is Natalie Elizabeth Cordova Lopez. And so when I was in high school, I went by Natalie Cordova. But then, I decided to just leave my
There can
grandfather.
only be one.
So it's exactly, I'm like, wait, what? Who's this Natalie Cordova? I mean, but right now I'm just Natalie Lopez nowadays. Just make it short.
Yeah.
One thing I'm gonna mention that I really loved. I love Frida Kahlo. That they brought her person in it, but De La Cruz looks like Pedro Infante.
Yeah. That was
I love what they
the whole
did.
thing.
The purpose.
That's cool. You caught that because a lot of people.
Yeah,
so
that's
you
going
know,
right over my head. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
there's these two legends in Mexican cinema, because Mexico had its golden age of cinema,
Sure.
where even Hollywood was stealing stories from the Mexican movies. Well, it still happens. But,
Mexico does better melodrama than we do.
yeah,
my
but
God.
but,
Yes.
but,
God,
but
yes.
in the 50s it was before the melodrama, because it was all, how everybody most movies were musicals.
Sure.
But Pedro Infante and Jorge Negrete are two of these like legendary. As an actor, my favorite movie star of all time, and who like in all cinema, no matter U.S., America, whatever, is Pedro Infante. Because he's just embodies charisma, everything. So he's everything that in the movie would be like the Gael Garcia character, and then the Benjamin Bratt character is the Jorge Negrete character. And there was always this like myth, rumor thing as to what, you know, between the two, right? One was this guy who was classically trained to come from a wealthy background and this and that, and the other one was just like a ridiculously charismatic, talented, humble guy. So when they both died, one became legendary, and the other one was just like, oh yeah, that was Jorge Negrete, he's great, you know? And the one that became legendary was the guy that came from nothing, like the humble guy that was just charismatic and sweet, and Pedro Infante. So it's funny you caught that, because that's part of what they threw in there, like subtly, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. Yeah.
So
That is really cool.
How much of this movie do you think goes completely over like the standard, like, I grew up in Chicago suburbs?
Surprisingly, I think very little. To be
Yeah.
honest, that's what I think is the beauty of it. That it's like you said, it's really. There's so many things. Like I would disagree with you a little bit. Like I don't think there's one theme that you could tag it with. There's so many themes and so many things.
I would agree.
Very
There's
true.
multiple messages.
Multiple
messages,
messages, and I
yes.
think that's the beauty of it. That it's it's a very universally appealing film. That's why it did so well. It didn't do well with Latino audiences. It did well with like general audiences.
If it only went
doesn't-
for Latino audiences, it wouldn't have been one of the
It
most
would
renowned
not have been
movies.
good.
Yeah.
No, exactly,
Yeah.
because we don't go to our movie. We don't go to movies about our shit. We don't. No, no, mijo, that'll be on like DVD next week or something. Like we'll watch it next week, or like no, we don't need to see
Just
that.
get the bootleg.
Yeah, because how are you gonna quiet the three kids or whatever? You're gonna put him to like, I don't know, some superhero movie, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you're gonna spend your money on, and they're not gonna spend it on the movies that are like with Latinos and stuff. So it didn't. It would have failed if that had been the
Like,
case.
the multiple messages in this movie, just I would maybe try to break it down, because we were talking about forgiveness, family, but there's also messages of don't steal, respect the dead,
And the elders.
and elders.
Oh yeah, a lot of respect your elders.
Follow your goals.
Follow your
But then
goals.
at the same time, you know, like there's things that
There's
are more
limits.
important
Don't be a bad
than your
person.
passion. There's things that are more important than your passion.
Yeah.
Some things are like, you know, temporary.
The movie kind of took a weird, for me, just the only thing I didn't like in the movie, it felt like it just took an awkward, unintentional dig at artists.
Of like the everything into your passion.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it felt like, especially for an animated film, like not that passion doesn't go into every single film that's ever been made, or it's a bad movie.
But with animation, there
both
has to be a degree of passion going into making those. Like,
Especially at Pixar, because they're the best animated films out there. Like you can argue with me all day, nobody can do animation like Pixar.
So how do you think
Absolutely.
they took a dig at art?
So they eventually kind of get past it, but with the whole his not grandfather character, I'm forgetting his name now because I'm terrible with names.
Ernesto de la Cruz.
Ernesto de la Cruz was his whole
When you
do anything for your art, and he's like, do you regret leaving your family? No, I don't regret leaving my family because I'm the best musician of all time. And like they just kind of kept hammering that for a while. There's like, I feel like you don't like people that leave for their art. And it's like, because even Hector left his family for his art and died being known for leaving his family for his art. Granted, that's not the case, and we find that out throughout the movie, but she forgives him for it, but he still did it. Like, even though he was coming back, he still left his entire family.
You know, I think that's it, if I may.
Yeah.
Those are two very interesting things, because I think they're two separate. I think what it did was showcase two different reasons for doing something like that,
Sure.
right? One is betterment of your family and your life, and the other one is ego. And I think if you guys see Birdman, you guys
Yeah.
see
Oh,
Birdman?
yes.
Yeah.
So if you take Birdman, right, and superimpose that into this movie, then you know.
It's an interesting movie.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, you just take the theme and throw it
Sure.
in there, and it fits right in with the Benjamin Bratt character, right?
Sure,
'Cause
yeah.
that's all he was about. He's that Birdman, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're the greatest. You can do this. You're everything. The world loves you. fuck your life and fuck your family and fuck everything. It's all about you. And then there's the other one, you know, like, no, I want to do this because it's a dream, and I think it'll make life better for my family and my children. And
Interesting.
and then one gets killed off and the other one survives, right? Which usually one has to kill the other in order to, I guess, to move forward. You have to either kill the ego to a certain point, or
Right.
the ego kills you. And as artists, that's always a huge battle. Because I went through it, right? Like, I think actors are artists. I don't know. But, like, when you take off, when you take off and you decide, I want to do this, and your family's like, wait, what? No, why? Why? You're not going to make any money. You're going to... I'm like, I'm in my 30s. I don't have a family. I don't have kids. So it's like this whole, like, am I doing this for... I struggle with the demons myself, right? Am I doing this because I want to be glorified, or is it because of my family, or because of a better life, you know? And I had to... You have to kill that person, because that person makes for a very lonely life.
Yeah.
and this person is actually pretty cool.
Well,
and
I think
so
that tether to what you're saying to family is maybe why I had trouble with it, because it was like, you know, not to dismiss like all of my family stuff, but like, you know, there's not that in middle America North kind of, there's not that level of just attachment to family.
right.
So seeing it as not being able to make that subtle distinction of the betterment of your family going forward versus just like leaving for your art, it's like
Right, or for your
so,
art, you know?
so for me, I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't have the right frame of reference for it. But then, as you were saying, it made me start thinking about the beginning of the movie, the foundation, saying everything is for the family. If you're doing it for the family or for the betterment of it, that's the better choice. But having not have that frame of reference, it did seem like, you know, leaving for your art, which we all did,
Right.
is bad in general.
Well, in just very American, honestly. America, the quote unquote American dream with capitalism is we're from a very young age taught to be bulldozers, essentially. Like, you have a passion, you have a goal. Now go do it and tromp everyone underneath you to get to that goal, and then we will celebrate you when you're successful. That's kind of America and how we're raised.
And
And-
it's so interesting. I'm going to make a little comment about it because, at least from my personal, you know, point of view, when I started doing my career, and I did it for ego, for all these other reasons, you know, instead of climbing up, you know, like I kind of just got stuck in that, you know, in that level. And then I kind of changed my mind. I'm like, you know what, you know, like I saw it actually more like failure, because you will get up, but you will fail. You will constantly fail. And then when I, you know, like made the choice, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do this because not only I love my art, you know, but because, you know, like the betterment of not just my family, you know, well, I mean, obviously I don't have many people here, but, you know, but for my friends, you know, like not just for myself, for my friends, and then, you know, also the people that I hire with me, you know, like I'm making their life better, you know, so I did it for the right things. And the moment that I made that choice, you know, like my career became a lot better.
I also think Miguel represents the middle road of that, because and the other lesson that is to be had there, it's not just about you choosing family or art, it's also about your family choosing to support you.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
Miguel, that's what needed to happen. Like, his family didn't support him, and that was the end of the movie. It wasn't just Miguel learning and saying, okay, fine, I can give up music. It was also them saying, you know what, we're not going to make you.
Yeah.
And that was a significant difference. Also,
Absolutely.
Frida Kahlo is still doing art in the afterlife and just loving it, and it was amazing.
I had the moment in the film when she's going through the rehearsal with Miguel, and she looks at him and be like, "Is it too obvious?" And I'm just sitting there going, I don't know what she's going for. Like, they come out of the papaya, they crawl out of it, then they crawl up a cactus of me, and then they drink my tears, and I'm like, I don't know what that symbolizes at all.
I love his response where he's like, maybe it's not obvious enough.
So the only character we really haven't talked about, we've only kind of talked about the actor who played him and how great he is, but we haven't really talked about the character Hector much. And for me, he's the heart of this movie as much as Miguel is the face of it. Like,
Yes.
the engine that drives this movie forward is Hector. And had anyone else not seen the trailer going into this?
I don't think I saw it.
I watched a beginning teaser trailer. I didn't watch the other ones because I did not know the character Hector.
Yeah,
at all.
I didn't recognize him at all. So, like, the one throwaway gag where he's pretending to be Frida to go across the bridge, I'm like, oh, I guess that's the end of that character. I'm like, but he sounded really familiar. Yeah. I guess we'll see if he comes back. And it's like, oh no, he's one of the main characters.
I assumed since they spent time on that scene that he was important.
I assumed it was either he's important or they just really wanted to get a good Frida gag in there, and it's like one of the two. And it's
They got a lot of Frida gags.
they got a lot of Frida gags.
He's I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
He's my favorite character of the whole thing.
Easily.
Yeah, because of that too. That similarity to Pedro Infante, right? That you guys don't know about Pedro Infante. Because he's to me he's everything. Like you said, he's the heart of the film. He's the heart of the story. He's actually, if you really look at it again, like he's the heart of every one of these messages that we're talking about.
Oh, for sure.
He's at the core of all of them. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say, the interesting thing for me about Hector is that throughout the movie we see Miguel's great-great-grandmother have a character arc and a change of character. We see his family, his parents, his brother, sister. Everybody kind of goes from A to B. Hector starts at B. Like, his entire arc happened, not entire arc, but the majority of his character change happened before the movie even started. And I think that's kind of interesting, especially as a way to tell a story of here's Hector, and his job, not through his own intention even necessarily, is to bring everyone else up to where he is. Of this whole, like, we need to forgive each other and just realize that we're family and love each other. And he doesn't have to do a lot of changing to get there necessarily, because he's already kind of progressed. He's seen people be forgotten. He's seen them essentially have their second death. He knows what's coming for him as his only daughter is slowly forgetting him. And because of that, he knows how important everything is, and just to let the little shit go away. And it's kind of his job to get other people there. And I think that's a really interesting way to do it with him.
I think Hector is the Z and Miguel is the A, where they're kind of the same character, except if Miguel stays down his track, he's going to end up like Hector.
Yes.
And I think that's one thing that works so well about the Hector character is, of all the people, he's the most evolved. But when we meet him, we think he's just some dumb loser. And so by saving that reveal, even though the reveal...
I was going to say that, like, I knew he was his father, like, from moment one. And I'm wondering, like, I didn't see that. Like, I didn't... The thought crossed my mind.
Before I was supposed to, but not from minute one.
Well, because I was watching, I was like, he's probably something like his father or something.
I got that.
And there was some confusion. Like, there was like this weird like moment where I guessed it, and that was the only disappointing part. Is like I guessed it because like it distracted me from getting those things.
There were some predictable.
I think that's just movies at this point for us. We've seen so many movies, so many tropes.
If I was a kid, I wouldn't have seen some.
Can I unsee a bunch of them?
No, you can't. Like, this is what happens with age.
Yeah.
You have intuition more.
But it also gave me a lot more time to try to follow those themes that he's putting forward. Cause like, and then he sang. I was like, oh, obviously, okay, he's clearly his father. Like,
he's not his father.
You know what?
His great grandfather. Yeah, but like,
you know that when you said he was on his way to becoming
Hector. Miguel was on his way to.
I think he was on his way to becoming De La Cruz.
I think so.
You know what?
That's
exactly what I was just going to say.
Murder,
right now.
but he was definitely.
I feel that he wanted to become like De La Cruz. That's like
he
the
was
ego
obsessed
based
with that ego,
exactly. He was so obsessed with the ego and everything. But then as he meets Hector, like because that ego is so high, he kind of like starts disrespecting Hector. Because he doesn't know that
you're nothing. You're a homeless man. What are you? You look like bones. What are you?
Exactly. So I feel that like Miguel was kind of like in right in between these two characters and who to become. And I feel that once he found out the truth that De La Cruz was stealing his his music, that's when he changed his mind. And what I like about Hector is the fact that like even though he did leave, okay, but then he learned his lesson once he was in music and he saw everything that was happening. And then he decided to go back, right? And unfortunately, he got poisoned. But what I loved about him is that, like he did realize that family was important as well. That it's not just his ego. So, that's why he's kind of like, he's the most grown character of the entire thing. Because everybody's in conflict and he just knows. He just knows exactly what he wants, and that he wants his, to keep on living, for his own daughter to like, remember him. I feel that he wanted, of course, obviously he wanted to go back, but he did not get that chance.
Yeah.
He did not get that chance, and now is his time to make it right. I feel that's what.
It's one of those things where I love it when a story is happening to a character and they don't realize it. And this movie did that really well, as he's getting to know his great-great-grandson and learning all about his family, and the whole time he doesn't realize what's happening. And I think that was really well done, of like, wait, we're related? Oh, cool.
Not only that, I feel that Hector is not realizing that he's changing everyone, actually.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize it. He just does it, you know, like he does what he has to do, and, you know, he follows his heart. There you go.
Yeah.
I know we're running out of time.
We
a little
are.
bit. Can I talk about some things outside of the story and the cast? The design and even the props of this movie. Two things that I really enjoyed. The very beginning with, let me say this, what they're called correctly. The Mexican, where'd it go? The Papel Picado Panderitas?
You're funny.
I'm sorry.
Two Spanish
Papel
speakers go,
picado?
no.
Papo Picado Boundary. That is amazing.
I can't roll my R, my tongue. So that makes Spanish incredibly difficult for me.
We're gonna have to do some exercises.
Can't roll my R's. Brian has tried to get me to purse so many times. It just sounds like air coming out
I
of
would
my mouth.
pay for you to say that again. Just so that you say it. I think that's
We can't even get our daughter to say normal R's. So,
But
R's
just
are a little tough.
that's how this movie started. Was
With what?
with a montage telling the story
What
of the
were they
family.
called? What?
I'm not going to do it.
What are they supposed to be called? What is she trying
What are you
to say?
talking about,
Does anyone know what she's trying to say?
what are these props? What is it you speak of?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
Can you
always
show it to
embarrassed.
Natalie so Natalie can pronounce it for
Let me
us?
see.
Papo Picado Picada Manada.
Oh, and it's actually written wrong too.
Okay.
Yeah, because it had a
Thanks,
So-
Google.
Okay, so it's banderitas de papel picado.
I can't
that
do
is
that.
definitely not what you just said.
So beyond. I'm sorry. I am a very white person.
But I
know
I think I like the way you said it better.
it. Okay.
What is Papo's picante?
Papo
I'm
Picado.
picante.
Papo Picado Panderas. It's cool.
No, I didn't even understand the last word. Like I first when I heard papel, I'm like, okay, I know what that is. But the last one,
Can I just say you're my hero for actually attempting that?
there you go.
I always try. But I enjoy how in each one of these movies that Pixar is trying to push themselves in creating just new visual ways to do their opening montages, because they do them a lot to just bring people into the story or bringing them into the culture. And I thought this was a beautiful way to do it.
Yeah.
Because, again, me being an Anglo-Saxon white lady doesn't know the significance of these beautiful papers that are strung
Papo
across
Picado
vehicles.
Picado.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to try to say it. And they use them kind of like shadow puppetry almost, in the way that they're telling the story at the beginning of this, to be like, she was left, she had to take care of her family, so she learned how to make shoes, which is an amazing thing for a woman to be able to just create this very successful business out of nothing. And then you have all these beautiful props in this movie with the guitar, very specific design. Like, I loved the moment when he gets into the crypt and just brushes the dust off of the guitar, and then you can tell that it's pearlescent and such in the animation. I'm
That's
like,
a
that's
beautiful
beautiful. And then I didn't know the significance of the lingering on the two shot glasses when they go to visit the one guy to take his guitar right before it gets forgotten, because they just have the camera sit on the one empty shot glass and the full shot glass for one, like, half a beat. And I'm like, that feels significant. And then later on, we learned that Hector was murdered through the poisoning of his shot from his supposed friend.
Oh, yeah.
That's
And
a
it's
beautiful
like-
catch right there.
Yeah. And it's just, they did a very good job with the art department in this movie to really
Absolutely.
tell story through those sort of things.
Even his Shrine to Dela Cruz up in the attic, like, I just loved everything about that. The old TV, the staring, like, an inch away from it, reflective with the guitar.
And what's the flower that they take the petal to? What was the name of that flower? I don't remember. Does anyone remember?
What scene?
Where they to give their blessing.
It's for their pathway too.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Oh no, we're all
Then I feel much better about
well,
myself.
they're orange, and I loved.
They glow when you bless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's flowers in general. So in Day of the Dead, right? You take en el Día de los Muertos, you take you go to your relatives or your dead, their graves, and you spend the day, you picnic at their tomb or their gravesite, So we always take flowers, and it's usually the color, the more colorful, the better, And the ones that you find, you usually go and you find, like, on your way to the cemetery, there's usually like these flower arrangement places, and they'll always have specific type of flowers, and they always have the yellow flowers, and they have like colorful arrangements. So I don't know if that's what they were going for. That's why I took it, but I like that you're making me think about in detail about what the flower meant. I'm gonna call my aunts.
Yeah, you know what?
Okay, it's
Even I didn't
Aztec
know.
marigold. I just looked it up. Known as the Mexican marigold or the... Okay, here's another word for you guys to make fun of me.
Wait. I know which one it is. No, wait. No, actually, I can't wait to say it. I'm excited now.
Cempasúchil?
This is amazing. Did you just speak Aztec?
The thing is, growing up, I was taken out of my classes because I had trouble reading at the very beginning of my life, and I was taught very much so to read phonetically, how to pronounce phonetically.
That's funny.
So anything that involves an accent or silent letters, I struggle with because I was taught so strictly, be like, pronounce it how it's spelt. So then,
That was really
even
good.
as an
Dumb
adult,
even for English. That's
terrible.
But that
That's how
doesn't
they
even
taught
apply.
me.
But that doesn't even apply because people make
How
fun
do
of
we
me.
pronounce this flower?
Cempasúchil.
You were actually
That was really good.
That's
I
not
did
bad.
okay.
Yeah, I was just kidding. But you did technically speak Aztec, or maybe it comes from an
you
Aztec.
speak
Mayan
Aztec,
name.
Chewie. Woo!
Let's move into quotes.
Okay, I want to start with quotes because we did not talk about Dante the dog, who's a
we didn't
Mexican
talk about the
hairless.
spirit animals at all.
Es un alebrije.
Yes, those were cool. He's also
Yeah, it's a spirit animal.
yeah. Well, he started out as just like a dumb old homeless dog.
Disney
And,
likes their mentally challenged animals. They do.
Oh no, but he's so cute, and he had his own little story of
I
becoming.
love that
of
little-
like, yeah, he like if we had just followed the dog, that would have been a cool movie too.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what? This dog just like discovering what he was meant to be. It's beautiful.
You know what? He reminds me of Hey Hey on
Yeah,
Moana.
yeah, a little bit.
I
Except Hey Hey
just love
just
him.
stays dumb. I don't know if Hey Hey ever.
That's,
really
yeah, that's
yes,
one of the things I was.
but it's
when
so
they-
cute. I
Disney
love
loves their
it.
mentally challenged animals.
But that's why, like, I picked that as my quote because at the moment, when he becomes like he suddenly touches that cat dragon,
That guy was cool too.
That was
He has
cool,
his
too.
own arc,
yeah, they all have they all have little arcs, and then he like grows wings and he turns colors. And he's like, what's happening? And he's like a dog, so he's super excited about it because dogs like get excited about like everything. They love change. And then he just goes, you really are a spirit guide. And I love that quote because everybody has just been like telling this dog he ain't worth shit the entire time. And then this dog's like, I've been cool the whole time. I knew who your great granddaddy was and you didn't listen to me. And it's just, and then he's like, and then he almost falls to his death and he's like, wait, no, okay, I'm fine. I got wings. And then he saves the day later. It's just all great. I love the dog.
My line will have none of the energy, but it just made me chuckle in a way that the rest of the movie didn't make me chuckle. And that's when Hector and everybody's finally back together, and he's with the great-great-grandma, and they run into De La Cruz, and she just bats him in the face with a shoe, and she goes, that's for murdering the love of my life. And Hector's like, I'm the love of your life? He's like, I don't know, I'm still mad at you.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that's like, why didn't they have the line of, well, my life is over, so it doesn't apply anymore. My favorite quote, I've already said it actually, but I loved it when we met Frida. She goes through her whole spiel, and then she looks down and be like, is it too obvious?
I love the look on
This is
those
such a
ladies'
great- yeah.
faces when she's like, set it on fire. And they're like,
Fire everywhere!
And then she does set it on fire later, though, but
She
like
does.
with paper
But
mache
it's
or
safe.
whatever. Yeah.
Safe
So
fire.
to me, to be honest with you, my favorite quote is it's actually the song. To me, the song is so meaningful. You know, it's so beautiful, you know, telling people to remember them, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Regardless of their mistakes and everything, you know, like people deserve to be remembered.
That
Well, now I gotta find a new coat.
I'll just interject really fast the changing of Brian and I's life and how different things affect us emotionally than
A
they ever
baby
did before.
changes things?
Oh my god, a baby
No
changes so
way.
many things.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
You
The
should name him.
Miguel.
His name is Corin. But the scene where he's singing "Remember Me" to Coco, and she's just on the bed getting really excited and stuff. I'm just like,
I was telling you guys off podcast, I didn't recover that evening from it. I was like, I'm going to be productive after watching Coco. And Coco was like, no, fuck you. You're going to cry the rest of the night.
Especially because I'm the one going to work right now. So I spend a lot of time away from him. So it's like, right in the feels, guys.
I spent all day with this little fucker. I'm fine.
He's going to remember you. You're not going to have any problems.
No, yeah, honestly, the song to me touched my heart, and especially that lullaby, because those moments are very important. Like parent to child and everything. So. It's
Quick, someone make a joke so we don't get all misty-eyed here.
Honestly, when Miguel sang it to Coco was the only part that almost got me to tear up.
Oh, I
that
definitely
part was
cried.
like, because if you've ever had a loved one that's forgotten who you are, that moment where they remember you for a second, holy shit!
Dementia is the
worst.
Fuck cancer, but fuck dementia.
Oh, yeah.
At least you can have a visualization of the cancer.
That moment where she looks at her daughter, she's like, "What's wrong?" "Nothing, Mom." It's like, oh my god. The fields. Quotes.
Okay, I don't have a quote, but I have a message.
Okay.
That I loved about that, because quote. There's so many things in the movie that I love. So many quotes, like "Remember Me." Just that part of the song was one of my favorite. But I've lived in the United States now for 90% of my life, and elementary, middle school, high school, and everything, and army and college. So I know what this quote unquote American culture is. And one thing that is most very rapidly disappearing in the United States is respecting your elders, right? Mm-hmm. So since I've noticed it since I was 15, and in Mexico, at least in the rural, like not the city areas. What's the
country.
opposite? The countries and stuff like the country, like that's a massive part of our upbringing, right? Respect your elders. I'm the eldest of my cousins, and if I say something, they really respect that, and it's not like authoritative, but. Or authoritarian, but it's very respected, and we'll talk about it or whatever. But guys, we shouldn't do that. Okay, we won't do it. In the U.S., it's like,
why do I have to listen
to
you?
Fuck you, dad, or fuck you, mom, or
exactly.
like I don't want to I don't need to listen
even
to you.
the teachers.
I'm independent and I'm a kid. I can do whatever I want.
Exactly.
That's why I say in America we're taught to bulldoze.
Exactly. And so I think that's. If I could put the whole movie in a quote, it would be respect your elders.
Yes, absolutely. It's same thing in my country, like we're taught to respect our elders. Even now that I'm a lot older, like I still, even if the older person is wrong, they have lived way longer life than you have. You still have a lot to learn, that maybe they still have a lot to learn, but, just for the fact that they have lived a way longer life, you should respect them. And then that is, also, with teachers, like mentors and everything, like you don't disrespect your mentors. You can't do that. And
I would love for America to start respecting their teachers more.
No, but that's the problem, that unfortunately in America, if a teacher does or say something to the student, oh, I'm gonna sue you, I'm gonna call my parents, like, or I'm gonna put it on media, on social, and like, it's gotten to a point that like I understand that we're a modern country, but you know what, it's that's why I always say that like I can be a little bit conservative myself, because like traditions are important. If not, they're gonna get lost, and we shouldn't let them get lost just because we live in a modern world. We should accommodate for them.
I come from a very, very different angle in that I no longer speak to my family, and and I no longer really show respect to my family because they haven't particularly earned it.
They didn't learn like they did in this movie.
No, they did not. And that was my point, is like, again, bring it back to the same thing. And I already kind of said this, but that's why that moment to me resonated more than the rest was granted, Miguel went first. He was the one who was just like, okay, fine. If it's, if it saves Hector's life, I'll give up music. And then they were like, no, we're not going to make you do that. But that moment was significant to me because, yes, respect your elders, but there's also a need, and this movie demonstrates it, for them to give respect back.
Absolutely.
And that was important.
Absolutely.
John, your quote?
My quote's pretty quick and it's funny. It's when he's talking to the clerk, and he sneezes around Dante. And he's like, I'm terribly allergic, but Dante doesn't have any hair. I don't have a nose, and yet here we are. And that delivery of that line was funny. I had to bring something funny in because we're getting feely, emotionally, and
that one didn't land for me because to me that was like, oh, he's got mange. That's a bad thing. This poor dog, he's sick.
Then he magically becomes a, what is it called?
Alebrije.
Yeah.
We have talked.
See, you knew how to pronounce that word.
I'm a good mimic.
We have talked a little bit longer than I was expecting, so we're going to have to forego the review system. But I think we can say safely around the table,
Kung Fu Panda.
We all recommend it.
That's what I was prepared to say.
Highly recommend.
I'm so glad we didn't do the review system.
it would have been all Pixar films, and you would have been like embarrassed.
So we will do a quick round of plugs. I can go first. Be sure to check out Venture Bros podcast, and then also check out the new show Samwise, which should be starting any week now. We're just about ready to launch that one. Samwise will be in the same feed as the one you're in right now until it launches out onto its own. Venture Bros is in its own feed. Be sure to check them both out. Rate, review on iTunes. We appreciate all of that. That's it for me. Lewis, do you have anything to plug?
Oh man, I was thought it was gonna.
You went the wrong way.
I watch Vida on Stars, and that's it.
Cool.
Get the free trial, binge watch it because I'm in it,
and
because it's random recommendation because I'm in it and I'm very proud of it. And what we're doing, like all the writers and above the line are female, either female or Latinx or LGBTQ, and it's something unprecedented. So I think watch it and you'll love the story and the acting and the writing and the production design and the costume design. It's just really, really cool. And it speaks against gentrification, which is something that's affecting every community.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Just go to our website, athpod.com. We've got some amazing articles on there, and we are continuing to put those out. Kudos to those people. We've got some interesting stuff coming this month, and I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to read every bit of it because I have to get it all set up for the blog. It's like a treat. I get to read it before all y'all.
We know for sure that John reads every article.
Yeah.
We have at least one person who's read every article.
I'm supposed to be reading every article, but I don't always know when they're in there.
Yeah.
And then they like go by, and I see them posted, and I go, oh shit, I was supposed to proofread that.
I'm pretty good about letting you know. At least I try. Anything to plug?
Nah, not this week.
Not even to plug Emily says.
I got, because Halloween's coming. I'm pretty booked right now.
Oh, you got some things.
I got some things.
Good.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
You're sewing.
I am sewing. That was my favorite. Is when Sam was like, "Does anyone know someone who sews?" And Brian was like, "Blake sews," and I was like, "That's literally the name of my site."
I was very proud of that one.
I was amazed by the setup. I was like, perfect. Too bad no one else saw that on Facebook.
Plug.
Thanks.
Natalie, anything to plug?
No?
Anything worth watching that you've worked on recently?
Well, right now I'm actually working on this like Batman miniseries.
Batman, you say?
Yes.
Batman, you say.
So
Batman will?
You know, I'm working really hard on it and just, you know, like just being busy about it, you know, pre-planning for that, you know. So I'll let you guys when that comes out so you guys can watch it. It's actually really cool.
Cool. Chewie, anything to plug?
Superstore is, working me very well, and it should start at the end. Actually, I forgot. I think the first episode airs in October.
Is this season 2?
Season 4. We're
Season
currently
4?
filming. Yep.
That's great.
And we're
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're getting more and more popular, which I love because it's such a great show. So watch Superstore. Keep supporting that.
Indeed. So that's it for Coco. I really enjoyed this episode.
Remember us.
Yeah.
Me too. Remember us.
me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming out. This was a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Adios.